Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Straight Up with MS and all its crazy little circles here on MS&Me Radio, brought to you by the MS Global Support Network. I'm your host, Patty Long, and you can find me on Twitter at MSinItForLife, and I spell it MSENIT, the number 4, LIFE. Twitter is super easy. You can play with it for a few seconds and kind of figure it out. There's a little search thing. There's a little tweet thing that has a feather for a pen, and it's really a cool atmosphere on Twitter. So please come join us and check me out and find my little happy tweets and my I do one that I say what day it is. So today is Wednesday, by the way, and Wednesday is my new recording day so that I can be on time, and I have pool tonight, so it makes it a fun day, and I know it's going to stay a fun day. And sometimes it's hard to have a fun day and keep it a fun day. So I thought I'd share with you guys my Mother's Day, because Mother's Day, like any day, could have gone any old which way, and I have to really seriously make choices all throughout my day, or else I'm going to run into issues, and I'm going to make my own MS act up and be ugly, plain and simple. If I don't make good choices throughout my day to stop things like stress and to make sure that I have plenty of fluids, lots of water and that kind of stuff, which I've also kind of got a chugging contest going on, but I think I'm the only participant right now, y'all. I don't know if anybody else is chugging water or not. Dr. B at Ohio Health says you need 5 bottles. At the moment, I can only seem to manage 4, and my daughter says that's because I'm a small person. So I don't know. I haven't asked that question, so I don't know. But making choices that reduce the stress and then dealing with it when it comes up in a way that works for you is so important. So I thought I'd share my Mother's Day, which could have gone either way many times. It started out, I woke up late, like always, and before I actually get out of bed, I do some basic stretches and stretch my legs out straight, rotate my ankles, point my toes, bring them back towards me, like doing the heel toes, but laying down with them, and kind of work that half of my body out. And then I crawl out of bed and I go to the bathroom that's like 5 feet away. Now, I generally check my watch to see what time it is, or else I check my phone to see what time it is. And to do so, I put my glasses on. I can't see anything, and I don't. I mean this. I mean, if it's more than an inch from my nose, I can't see it. Not clear at all. And if you're a couple of feet from me, you don't have a face. You lose your face because I'm that nearsighted. So that's kind of, and I always have been. But that's another story for another time. But that morning, okay, I did the same. But I knew I needed to jump in the shower And I say jump, but I don't really mean jump. But I needed to get in the shower. And so I took my glasses off and laid them on the opposite end of the counter from where I was at. It's a small counter, but I was taking them off as I walked in there, knowing I was going to take a shower. So they would be out of the way. And I was sitting on the toilet, right? We sit on the toilet to do our morning business. And all of a sudden, the door pops open and there's this flash of colors waving through the air, with my hubby telling me that he brought me flowers. And I thought, oh, thank you for the flowers. I am sitting here on a toilet. Do you mind? I can't even see them, So I start out like that. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I got in the shower. And when I got out of the shower, my daughter had called. So I called her back. And she asked if I wanted her to bring me a cup of coffee. And I said, yeah. I said, you're not going to believe what Daddy did. And, we both laughed at it and moved on. And I just laughed at it. I mean, it was kind of rude, but, what the heck? He's my husband. And I will just laugh at the fact that even if I had walked in on him and he would have gotten really pissed, that I can make that choice not to get pissed that he walked in on me and was rude that way, but to laugh it off, So that's what I did. And then I start hearing, as I'm getting dressed, the vacuum cleaner running and all this stuff, because he apparently didn't realize that anybody was coming that early. And why that early? Because, he had to go do his morning things and that he does. And while he leaves the house at 8, he's rarely back home before 10:30 or 11. And my mom and dad were going to be there at around 11, and everybody was going to be there at around 11. And Courtney was coming a little early. She was shooting for 10, and it was, it was after 10, but she was shooting for 10. And so anyways, he's rushing around, and it's like 20 after 10 or so, maybe. And he's rushing around cleaning house. I mean, what the heck? Why? So anyhow, he does his rushing around thing, and I ignore him, and then I realize that my blue jeans are still in the dryer. So I wait and do all this other stuff that I needed to do to get ready, and waited on my daughter and hollered for her to bring me some blue jeans. And she did, and I finished getting ready, and I was completely dressed and out before 11. Yay! So I'm doing good, right? And my mom and dad get there, and I've got my grandkids there and my daughter there. And then my youngest son, Cody, comes, and he's the one that drove me to Atlanta, and we had been zigzagging along the highway. And I had been waiting on him to get there to tell my story of driving to my ophthalmology appointment, which I go to a specialist within ophthalmology. He's an ophthalmologist, and he's really awesome. But he's in Greenville, down the road from me. So I had a good little ways to drive. So I got to be the one zigzagging in and out of the traffic and in and out of the traffic and in and out of the traffic so I could get through it, since we got all these idiot drivers who don't know what a left lane is for. They have no concept of where they should be on the road at the speed they are choosing to go. So that, it leaves you zigzagging through the traffic. And I was telling them the story of me getting to do this the previous Thursday, and that it was so much fun. And then I even got chased by a convertible who thought he could keep up. And, he went left and I went right, because we started both in the middle lane and there was 3 lanes. So, and he ended up getting stuck and I kept on going. And when I looked in my rear view mirror after I got back to the left lane where I was supposed to be to start with, he was like way, way, way back behind me. And I just laughed. I thought that was so funny. And, it's fun for me to get out there and drive like that on days that I can, and I have a car that makes it possible to do it because I have a camera that shows me everything that would be in the mirror on the right hand side on my passenger side. So I've got that on a screen in front of me, and I buy that car. I have that car specifically for that camera because I have blind spots in my right eye, plus I've got peripheral vision loss. And that makes it possible for me to get out on the road safely and then do this on days that I'm not just a safe driver, but that I'm doing really well. So I was thrilled with that. So I'm in the middle of telling this story, and hubby pokes his head in the door, and he says, "Patty, you got to come out here and see this. You got to come see this." And he's like telling me to come on right then, and I didn't. I finished telling my story. And then I went outside to see what he wanted. Well, a week or 2 back, I had a baby turtle that had been sprayed with bug poison that was on land way far away from the creek or the pond. And he was brought to me, and I washed him off, and I kept washing him off, and I ran him under the water, and he couldn't have been bigger than a quarter. He was just a itsy bitsy baby. So I saved this baby turtle. And we hadn't seen it in several days, maybe a week. And hubby kept telling me that he got out of the pond and he had escaped. And I kept saying, I didn't see how he could do that, but it's either that or he's, laying dead on the bottom of the pond. I said, I hope he escaped. I hope that's why I haven't seen him. And so hubby had called me outside, and he wanted me to see something. He says, I found the turtle. I found him. Look, there he is right there. See, he got hung in that netting around the bulb, see, and you can see through now to the bottom, and he got hung down there and he drowned. I like to lost it. I couldn't believe that he pulled me outside to tell me such a thing. I mean, there's so many other ways he could have handled it. He could have gotten the baby turtle that I saved out of the pond and let me think and keep thinking that he had escaped, instead of proving that I was right, even though I didn't want to be proved right, and yet he goes around always the expert about everything, and I don't have a clue what I'm talking about, which is the normal case, which is why the flowers on the front porch are going to have problems. We're now at, I think, week 2. But anyways, I couldn't believe he told me this. So, and showed it to me. I mean, he didn't even just tell it to me. He made me look at it. I told him I didn't want to see the baby turtle dead on the bottom of the pond. And he said, you've got to see this. And I said, fine, if I've got to, I've got to. So I go back in the house after all this, and I am completely upset, torn to bits. And my mama and daddy, the babies, and Cody were in the house. And I told all of them what had happened. And I mean, I was extremely upset. And near tears, kind of extremely upset. And just, I couldn't believe that this man did this instead of just leaving it as if this baby turtle, because he was wild, escaped the pond. And he chose not to. Who does that? So I grabbed my bag so I could throw my stuff in it. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry, but I've got to go for a walk. I have to get out of here. I just got to. Nobody said a word. And I left. And I went walking through the woods. And when I went out one way, he was there. So I went out another way, so I wouldn't have to go past him. And I went walking through the woods. And we've got 4.5 acres or so of woods. And my trails aren't really trails anymore, but I followed the water wash down the hill and the animal trails down the hill and across until I found a trail that was still a trail. But I went walking. And the longer I walked and listened to the birds singing in the background and all of what nature has to give you while walking and taking some photographs, which I used to take photographs with a DSLR camera. And I miss that camera, but I can't really use it right, and I don't want to take pictures with camera I can't hardly use. And so, plus the battery doesn't work right anymore, so I for now, I'm just taking pictures with my cell phone. And so I took some pictures of some different areas in the woods and the light and how things evolve over time in the woods, because it's constantly changing. And it has a lot since the last time I went down in that particular direction. So I probably went walking a good 30 minutes and maybe a little longer. And I came back up the hill and I was feeling much, much better. Now, for the rest of my day, I really pretty much stayed away from him. When I got back, our lunch that we were having had just been taken in. We had hamburgers and hot dogs, and I appreciate the fact that my husband did all this stuff. Okay, it's not that he's not appreciated, but I don't appreciate a lot of what he does. And there just really wasn't a reason for him to do it. So I ate and talked with my parents and my kids, and by this time my oldest son Joey was there. So, I had turned that part around, but it wasn't completely 100% turned around at that point. It's just that I was avoiding any kind of situation, and I was happy with avoiding it, but it's like I needed something else. I needed more, and I didn't really want to completely disappear again. So I did go outside, but I went out front, and people were coming in and out front, during the day, because it was a really nice day. It was supposed to have been a very rainy day, but the rain was done, so it turned out to be a pretty nice day. And like I said, things are always changing in the woods. And so we have these huge trees with limbs that are hanging really low after stuff has fallen and bent them down. So my mom was sitting on the front porch, and this is what made my day, y'all. This totally made my day. Made my next day, too. But my mom was sitting on the front porch, and I was up above her on the hill in the front, and I was trying to tear down the stuff that didn't need to be there. And so there were these really high up limbs that hung really low. And I decided to use them for a swing. And I thought, well, if I can't just pull on them and finish breaking them, maybe my body weight and swinging will do it. Because, you know, if you have that motion, that's going to help. So I would grab a hold and I would try and swing on it. And I'd hear a little crack and I'd stop, you know, and I'd put my feet down. And I really didn't get my swing on yet because I was afraid it was going to break on me. And I wasn't really afraid. I mean, the ground was like right there beneath me, and it's really soft. It's also really soggy because it's been raining for days. But I didn't want it to break in my arms like that, you know, so I was hesitant. I guess you should say. I was cautious. It wasn't so much fear. But anyways, so my mom's watching me, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it this time, Mom. I'm going to do it. Watch, I'm going to do it. And I grabbed that branch as high up as I could and took a few steps backwards, leaving me on my tiptoes, and tried to like run it into a swing. And I actually did swing all the way across and past the tree, and I did hear it cracking, and I started laughing, and my mom started laughing, and I know she did. I could see the grin. I could see the joy, and seeing the joy gave me joy. And once you grab a hold of joy, wherever you find it, you don't let go of it, because that's where your happy place is, you know. And I talk all the time, I got this happy bubble, and I refuse to let anything pop my happy bubble if I can avoid it. Now, unfortunately, you know, I wasn't able to avoid the issue with my baby turtle that I'd saved. I was able to avoid the first issue and then the following little issues after that. And I was able to handle all the ones that came after I found that joy again. And I found it where? By making somebody else smile and laugh and have a good time. And I actually swung on that branch a couple more times before it cracked enough so now it's hanging up against the tree. So I might just have to let it die a little bit before I can finish pulling that limb down. But I will, and then I'll be He-Man because I've pulled the limb off the tree, right? But I have plenty of others in my front woods up there that I need to do the same thing with. So I'm going to see if I can't figure out a way to videotape me swinging on these trees, because I think it might make some of y'all laugh. And if it did, then, well, I'd have another day made, you know. And when I'm online and somebody tells me something that makes my day, I always make sure they know that they just made my day. And they're making it because they're bringing me joy. And keeping that joy going, even through the hardest times, is what's important. You know, that's how we smile. That's how we laugh. That's how we live happy lives, despite whatever else is going on. Now, my MS didn't act up too bad. Why? Because I, I handled it. When I was told the devastating news, which it was for me, and I realize this is a baby turtle, y'all, but I have the thing for critters, and I love them all. I've got lizards and frogs and turtles, and, I love them all. Well, I don't have a turtle anymore, but I've had turtles. My last turtle was about 4 years old when he was allowed to escape the pond. And I had raised him since he was the size of a quarter. So, and he would actually come to me when I called his name. His name was Terry. He was Terry the turtle. But he did get loose, and I had to deal with that. But the way I deal with it is by getting off to myself, getting within nature, doing something that takes all my focus away from the issue. And then I look for the joy. And, once you start looking for the joy, you will find it. It's out there. And then you stay there, and you've made your happy bubble. And keep your happy bubble. And if something does come along that pops it, don't let it stay popped. Deal with it in whatever way you can to make the stress of the situation go away. And realize that what other people do is not something you have any control over. I definitely have no control over anything hubby does, or thinks, or says. And I know this. So I have all my woods and the sounds of the birds and all my exercises to help keep me in my happy bubble. And I have all the people on Twitter who help me to stay in my happy bubble because they bring me such joy. And that is what it's about. And I couldn't be happier. I couldn't possibly be happier than I am when I bring laughter to somebody else's life or joy to their life. So that's how I keep my days turned good. I hope this all makes sense to y'all, more than just me telling a story about hubby's being an idiot still, and always will be. But I love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, smile big, smile often, and most importantly, love yourself, including your wacky and messed up parts. Learn to deal with them. Learn to keep them not so wacky. And laugh. Laugh at the silliness of it. Laugh at the flippancy of it. Oh my gosh. But smile big, y'all. And smile often. Make silly faces if you got to. And laugh. Laugh, laugh. Love y'all. Bye.